rights alone will make us rich beyond our wildest dreams.
We're not in the business of creating monsters. We're the Disenfranchised Podcast. That podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, a man who seems intent on destroying himself, it's Tucker. Hey, Tucker, how's it going, buddy?
Hello, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I don't know. Still trying to figure out how to, come into the show. I've noticed while I've been editing, I always try something different.
Mm-hmm.
But my hello, Stephen, is always a little too overthought. Comes across forced and too goofy. But I can't just be like, hello, Stephen. But see,
Right.
even that, I don't know. Brett, Brett set the standard so high.
I wasn't going to say
So
anything, but
I can't.
It's the
No,
perfect
it's
introduction.
You don't
and it's
gotta
just him
say
doing
hello,
himself.
Stephen. You could say good evening. You could say hello,
What-
like howdy.
What up?
What
Hey,
wanted to
hey,
say
hey.
how you doing?
I wanted to say buongiorno, Stephen, but then I remembered that this doesn't take place in Italy like the good Assassin's Creed games.
That's not
takes-
a hot take at all.
It
Like,
takes place in
the Ezio trilogy. That's peak.
People wanted the Ezio trilogy to go on forever, and that Ubisoft didn't know what to do after it was over.
takes place in
Yeah.
Spain. Hola. Buenos
Yeah.
noches, Stephen.
Yeah,
Yeah, have a greeting relevant to the movie that you're watching.
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
Straight
I'll
up
do that.
maybe.
look, we're
Shit, maybe.
just spitballing here. You know.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
And yes, that's right. You heard him here first. The blood that flows through his veins is not his own. It belongs to the Creed. It's Brett Wright. Hey, Brett.
We work in the dark to. I forget how it goes. Anyway, hello, Stephen.
I was gonna say it goes. Hello, Steven. Is how it goes, Brett. Man, don't do that to me, man. I talked it up, and then you're like, oh, other stuff. Oh,
yeah, no.
wow.
Always
Mister,
leaving
Give
him
it
wanting
away
more.
like that. Like
It's
you
painful.
gotta. Yeah, I can't just give it away. The fuck?
Oh
Wowzers.
man. And hey, friends, guess what? The gang's all here, and it's because we're kicking off a brand new theme month. This one decided by our very own Brett Wright. Hopefully we'll see a lot more of him this month. Hopefully next month too. I don't know. Maybe
Decided
we'll
a
see.
year ago, so that's why we were. He's iffy. I'm gonna try to be here all 4 weeks. We'll see.
This was a blatant attempt on our part to get Brett back on the podcast full time. So we'll see how it works. Anyway, we are kicking off an Oops All Video Game Month, where we talk about 4 video game adaptations that failed to get that sweet, sweet sequel gold. And they're all picked by Brett. So Brett, tell us, what movie have you selected for us for week 1 of Oops All Video Game Month?
I've decided to start it off with Ass Creed.
Starting on a high note with 2016's Assassin's Creed, directed by Justin Kurzel, written by Michael Leslie, Adam Cooper, Bill Collage, and starring Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, Jeremy Irons, Brendan Gleeson and Brian Gleeson, Charlotte Rampling, Michael K. Williams III, who else we got in here? Denis Ménochet, Essie Davis, many others. What a cast, gentlemen! What a picture.
This cast is too good for this movie.
Oh, and Jeremy Irons. I fucking forgot to mention Jeremy Irons.
You said Jeremy Irons.
Did I? That's okay. Yeah, no, this cast is definitely way better than this movie. Good God, what are these people doing in here?
Right?
Look, man. So I chose to start this because of the 4 that I chose. I'll have to check the calendar again because I don't remember half of the movies we're covering this month. I think this is the one I know the most about. That one I do. Steven is typing them into the chat right now. That one I do. The other 2 I don't remember.
Hey.
Oh no, okay. The third one I'm going to know a lot about. All right, yeah,
That's a video game?
Yep.
yeah. That one is kind of irrelevant. It's a video game.
It's got the guy from the Detroiters in it.
It's a video game, sort of.
Detroiters?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Detroiters? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
So, okay, so of the 4 that we're covering this month, this is the one I know the second most about.
Okay.
I played the first 5 games.
Yeah.
So that's Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood. What's the third one in the Ezio trilogy, Tucker?
I thought Brotherhood was the third one, and Revelations was
Revelations is the third one. Yes, Revelations is the third one.
Yeah.
And then Assassin's Creed 3.
And that's where you really should stop.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
Black
proof
Flag
enough-
is okay.
Part 3
Kinda.
makes the mistake of not really being a very good game, except you can climb trees. And its biggest mistake, though, is making the protagonist just a complete asshole and an idiot. I mean, he's the good guy. He's doing the good stuff, but boy, is he a piece of shit. Man, I can't stand playing as that guy.
Yeah,
Oof.
he's not great.
Idiot.
Which isn't a good look considering they made him Native American. So
Yeah, I was excited, but
yeah, that would be a really cool way to go. And they made him a dick, and that wasn't
just a huge dick. I did like the opening sequence though, where you play as the Templar guy. That's pretty cool.
spoilers.
Yeah. Well, for Assassin's Creed 3, the game that came out on Xbox 360.
Spoilers for a
20-year-old game.
20-year-old game, yeah.
Well, not quite 20, but 15-year-old game.
15ish, yeah. But anyway, I don't know where we go. I was talking about the games I played.
Yeah.
So that's as we talked about with Supernatural a couple of weeks ago. Like there was a definite stopping point where the writers were like, "We have this story to tell, and we've told that story, and now we don't know what to do with ourselves." Now that story's over, or they lost the plot and they didn't know what to do after they killed off the main character they'd been building up for years. They just kind of threw it away, which I don't know when this movie came out relative to what games were out at the time.
I can tell you that.
So
this
Unity
came
out around that time.
Unity came out in 2014. Syndicate was 2015. And Origins was 2017. So it came out between
wasn't
Syndicate
bad.
and Origins.
I dug Syndicate.
Origins is when it started with the big open world RPG stuff, right?
I think so.
Because there are fans of that Assassin's Creed for sure.
Yeah,
and
it works as sort of like a
weirdos,
soft reboot.
Yeah, because like my roommate really likes those games, and she actually introduced me to them a way long time ago with the first one, and she prefers the new style so much so that when the last Assassin's Creed game came out and it was more like the old one, she was like, no thanks, because like they're over it, like it's evolved into this other thing. Like why would you? I don't know. It looks like fun. The newer ones.
Problem with Ubisoft, they don't know what they want to do with this series. Like the reason Black Flag came out and was like mostly based on this pirate character was because people loved the few ship driving segments in 3.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's make an entire game out of this thing that the fans love. And then like they sort of abandoned the modern day storyline because fans were like, well, we just really love to play around in the past. We don't care about this modern story anymore.
I mean, that makes sense. Just streamline it. Like,
I guess, but that's what I was into. I was really into the modern story and where it was going. And so when they abandoned that and like pretty much scrapped it all, more or less, like you kill off most of the main characters, at least the 2 that are most important, and then kind of just abandon the story you were telling. Like, I don't really care anymore.
And Brett abandoned interest.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I played Syndicate because I dug the aesthetic, which is like, what is it, 18? No.
Victorian
19?
England and
Victorian
World War
England, yeah, Victorian England, yeah. I mean, there was a Jack the Ripper DLC for that game and everything, so I was into it.
Nice. Did you play any of the side-scrolling ones?
No, I wanted to though, because I mean they came out around the time I was still into the series pretty heavily.
Well, I mean, they came out on the handhelds. They came out like on PSP or PS Vita or whatever. It took a few years for them to come to the home consoles, though, because I think they wanted that to be an exclusive. But then, like, PlayStation portables never really get beyond like a niche market, so they figured they could make money with it afterwards. And
Yeah, because I know that some of the assassins that he fights with at the end of the movie are descendants of characters in those side-scrolling games.
oh yeah, the gal definitely is. That
Mm.
she's got a whole game. That's the one I've
Yeah.
played. I played the China, I think it is.
Yeah, that's the fun part of at least the end of this movie, is that every single one of those characters fighting with him is a descendant of a character from one of the side games. They only name one of them by name, and it's
Baptiste.
Baptiste, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But yeah, there's too much lore. I can get into some of the lore to sort of explain it, but there is so much of it. I compare it to Kingdom Hearts. Like it's so much to unravel and untangle and explain that I could never do it in a concise and understandable way for a layman.
I will say this: at least Assassin's Creed is competent at numbering its sequels.
Also true. I mean, don't get me wrong, it faltered a little bit, just like Kingdom Hearts did. Like, you got Assassin's Creed 2, they were like, well, we can't move on. We have to continue with Ezio for a while, so we got to give
2.2, 2.3.
Yes. Like, Revelations is, 358 over 2 days or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Even though Brotherhood is my favorite. Brotherhood is my favorite of those games. The whole, like, managing the different assassins guilds and sending them out on missions, that was fucking sick. I love doing that. That was a lot of fun.
I liked the idea of that, but it became too much of like just something I had to worry about. The games became too complicated for me with the introduction of that. And then it seemed like with every game after that, it just added more stuff. And really all I want to do is climb around and stealthily assassinate people.
Yeah. It got feature creep and just bloated. Like,
yes,
that thing that I love about Brotherhood, they completely took out, reworked, scrapped, and like changed. And I don't know why did you do that? Like,
keep it fresh, I guess. It's probably their intention.
Yes. Like, yes, let's keep the gameplay fresh. Meanwhile, we're in our third game with the same character.
Oh, I would have played a million Ezio games. He was my favorite. Altair is kind of, people forget about him. He's the guy. He's the main guy from the first one.
But Altair didn't have much of a personality.
He didn't. Well, you didn't even really see him that much. He was kind of the Link or the Master Chief of the Assassin's Creed games. Like, he doesn't, you have to, it's easier to feel like you're in that person's shoes because they are kind of a blank slate. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, they don't talk that much, and yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But
I can appreciate that.
That's the change they did make. That was great. They go from pretty much a silent protagonist to a, overly talkative protagonist.
I really liked the platforming sections in the first one too. Like they weren't dungeons, but essentially the dungeons that you would have to go through to do stuff. And there was all the platforming, and I mean the parkour was part of it, but it wasn't just like climbing things. It was almost like Tomb Raider, like modern Tomb Raider games, when you go into the tombs and you have to figure out the puzzle and climb around. And
right.
I enjoyed that in the first game. I think they kind of phased that out though.
Sort of. I mean, there's a lot of like, if you want to do the side collectibles and like get all the stuff, I forget which one it is, but there are still those dungeons that you have to platform through. They're kind of like parkour skill checks. Like, how good are you at parkouring? Like,
I remember those in 2, and I think sometimes you would learn like new moves or something. Maybe it's been a long time. I keep meaning to.
oh yeah,
buy the Ezio collection so that I can play through at least the first 2 Assassin's Creed 2s. At least,
right.
maybe try my hand at the third one again.
Yeah.
The second one for me is the second one is peak. For me though, that's me. A lot of different people have a lot of different opinions.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, and maybe that's why Ubisoft has such trouble nailing down what they want to do with the series, is because like the Assassin's Creed games are a bunch of different things in one game, and you have your fans of this thing, you have your fans of this part of the game, you have your fans of that part of the game, and they don't know what to do with themselves. They're like, well, we can't give all of you everything, so yeah.
This
so
is
just
true.
Focused on the one thing they know, which is that everybody loves the stuff in the past. Forget the future stuff. Nobody cares.
At least,
well, I cared. Ubisoft.
Yeah. At least they're trying to do different stuff with it instead of most of our yearly sports games that we get that are just new rosters. You know?
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, even this movie is sort of like setting up for like what the games were setting up for, was like a game set in the present day where the modern day assassins take on the modern day Templars, and that would have been fucking cool. No.
And see, the best thing about this movie, the only thing I liked about this movie was the setup for the sequel. Because I fucking hated this movie. It was so boring. It was so dull. Dull.
But the scenes in the past were so fucking good, though.
The
scenes in the past were the epitome of Assassin's Creed. They could have been live action cutscenes in an Assassin's Creed game.
I agree with you, but there weren't enough of them.
No, there weren't.
And they always...
Literally everything else was trash? Yeah.
Every time that you were just starting to have a whole lot of fun in those scenes, they'd be like, take him out, quick, take him out. Take him out. It's getting too entertaining. Take him out of the Animus. People are having too much fun. Shut this down. Shut all of this off.
Michael Fassbender has to start talking again. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. We're paying him the big bucks. He has to say the shitty dialogue.
Marion Cotillard has to explain like 5 pages worth of what the fuck is happening right now so that people at home can understand what's going on.
And they still don't.
And they still
won't. There's not enough. There's not enough pages of exposition to explain what's going on in a 2-hour movie.
That sequel hook, though, I think that's what would have been I mean, I guess you have to get through this movie to get to it, but that would have been the perfect thing for what I think Ubisoft's intentions for this franchise was to do something Assassin's Creed, but not have it really related to the games at all. And that would have been perfect. Because, like, you would have your modern day assassins. You got Michael Fassbender. You got Michael K. Williams, for crying in the mud. And that gal was pretty cool, so I don't know who she is, but she was cool. And, like, we could go and they would do stuff in modern times. And maybe every once in a while, they'd hop into an Animus and we'd go to a different place. And that would be cool, but, like, mostly it would just be them in modern times, all, like, Van Helsing-ing it. Van Helsing.
That would have been cool. Yeah, maybe. Or
I want to see the sequel.
Or people would have hated it because there were no scenes in the past, or hardly any.
Now, see, but you throw a couple in there, but then you make the action in the present and the story in the present as intriguing and satisfying as the past scenes, fleeting as they may have been, were in this film.
Well, sure, but as we've discussed so far, Assassin's Creed fans don't want that. Dude, and Ubisoft agreed.
As we've discussed before, Assassin's Creed the fans don't know what they want, man.
No, that seems to be the one thing.
No two are the same, so you can't really generalize them.
That seems to be the one thing that most Assassin's Creed fans agree on, which is why I'm not a fan anymore, is that these games should just take place in the past. You give us the modern day setup for putting us in the past, and that's all. That's all. You throw that in the background, and we don't talk about it anymore. Like that seems to be what they want the series to be.
Well, then if this movie is going to be like the modern day shit, then why would fans of the video games have wanted to watch it at all?
But why do you think this movie flopped?
Nah, touche.
Yeah, let's see. The fans didn't like it. Normal people couldn't understand it.
Correct.
Yeah, it was kind of doomed to fail.
I think they spent too much and not enough time with the story in this movie. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like if they would have broken down the story in this film into separate films or maybe into a television show into episodes, it would have been better. Because as it is, I feel like they're trying to tell too much story while cramming in not enough action and then just kind of hand waving it all for a good sequel hook.
Which is, I mean, a thing that we see all the time on this podcast is just you make a first installment so that you can get to the second movie. Just make that the fucking movie. Like, come on, guys.
That's the mistake everybody makes, I feel like, is that they're trying to make a franchise. Just make a good movie. And, you know, if it makes money, then... I mean, do a Back to the Future, man. They put the sequel hook in there as a joke.
Right.
And then Universal was like, we ain't laughing, motherfucker. You better make another movie, at least. And you got to use that ending. I don't care what you do with Jennifer. You have to use that ending.
You motherfuckers are going to make 2 back to back.
Right.
And we're not fucking around.
And we have your families.
Bob, we have your families. Sorry.
Yes. Wow.
Steven's got them tied up out back.
This is heavy duty, Doc.
There's something wrong with the Earth's gravitational pull in the future?
Crispin Glover wasn't on board, and we almost killed his ass. So,
that's right.
Get on board.
Yeah. Buckle the fuck up. Oh my god. Yeah, so I have no history with these games whatsoever, which is why you've not heard me say much in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say, look, for most of this month, Steven is just going to be a figurehead who occasionally says stuff every once in a while.
If you like episodes where I don't talk a whole lot, buckle up, baby. This is the month for you.
Steven ain't going to be saying much for like a month straight.
Yeah. I may not even show up next week.
I mean, you might talk episode 3 there. You might have a lot to say about that. You might have some thoughts.
Well, and of course, episode 4 is a foundational movie for this podcast.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because that's not really it. Look, is it based on a game? Sure, but look, no, it's a game nobody's played.
There you go.
So
very cool. But I didn't even know it was a game.
Exactly. I didn't know it was based on a game either.
Should I play the game? How do I play it?
We'll talk about that on the episode. You can find it.
There's this thing called Google, and if you type anything in there, like any question at all, it will answer it for you.
Yeah, but then you don't get human interaction. You don't get
how the fuck do you think I'm going to come up with the answer to that, Tucker? I'm going to Google the answer and give it to you. Like, come on.
Well, see, that's cool. I get that. But do you remember back in the day, you had a question and you know the answer? You like ask your aunt and she gives you an answer and you're like, okay, that's an adult. So like, that's the truth. And so you go with that thought for years and years and years until you actually look it up somewhere and you're like, oh, that's wrong. You can't do that anymore. You can't do that. Man, back in the day, if I wanted to know something, I had to take my ass to the library.
And now all of us carry the whole of human knowledge in our pockets. And
this had to ask
than ever. What was the name of that system, that program where you could like text your question and then like someone would answer, like text back an answer? You remember what I'm talking about?
Look, this was my job before the internet. Like before Google was a thing, I was the guy that you called. Like, wake me up in the middle of the night. Hey, hey, who's the guy that's in the thing with the other guy? I'm like, oh yeah, that. And they're like, oh shit, all right, thanks. Click.
Oh yeah, it was Alien.
Google took my
Oh
job.
right, okay, all right, cool.
I have no use in the friend group anymore. I'm useless because I'm in everyone's pocket. All that useless information that I used to proudly carry around in my noggin, it's in everybody's pocket. I'm worthless. All my best talents are useless, to quote myself.
But that's not true though. Look, there's like trivia nights that are big nowadays.
There's
like,
podcasts.
there's
Yeah, but
podcasts
everybody
like
that
this.
goes to them are lame. And I'm on this podcast, and I'm lame, so...
Or like sometimes people are in these situations, and when somebody's not a dick like Steven, they'll just be like, "Hey, like Tucker, what's the answer to that question?" And you'll answer the question. They won't go, "Why don't you fucking Google it, asshole?"
That's what I hate on the internet when people are like, oh, why don't you Google it? Well, if I wanted to Google it, I would have fucking Googled it. No, I wanted to ask somebody to see what they said. Human experiments and shit.
Human interaction, talking to people.
Yeah, dude.
Where's Jeeves when we need him? Really?
Where is Jeeves? Honestly,
I don't know. I think
I want to ask Jeeves where he is.
Pulled his plug there, but he did.
We should do a disenfranchised documentary called "Searching for Jeeves," where we go and look for Ask Jeeves.
You just knock on my door, and I'm like,
we're gonna
Jeeves
make a
don't live here
documentary.
no more. No, the bitch is dead. And then
we're gonna make a documentary about that has nothing to do with the premise of the podcast. I'm into it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes. The most unrelated thing.
That's why we just become a production company, like Disenfranchised Productions presents.
Yeah, Disenfranchised Pictures. A disenfranchised production of a disenfranchised film.
We call it Disenfranchised Pictures, but then we'd only do podcasts. And only audio, no video ever.
Right. Yeah, we sell out a movie theater just to show the disenfranchised logo over 3 hours of us just yammering on about inanities.
Yes.
Millions.
Yes.
We'll make millions.
Yeah. But we'd spruce up the logo. It's like, you know how in Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie, they just like made the same set, but like they injected more money into it.
Right.
Like that's what we do. We'd like the logo would be 3D, and like someone would sculpt it and paint it and photograph it at 4 different angles.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go. That's it.
I like that.
That's the way to go. Yeah.
Anyway,
how long do you think it'll be before people start going to movie theaters to listen to podcasts?
Any day now.
Because the more popular ones do have the video feeds where you can watch them recording, which I guess that's a cool option to have, but like it's a podcast.
Easier
it's
to
like a radio
produce,
show.
It's easier to produce content out of that. You can not only are you releasing the podcast in audio form and visual form, you can then chop it up. You can take clips and chop up the video and throw it on TikTok or throw it on Instagram Reels or throw it on Facebook video. Like you can use the video of you recording it to make even more content.
Put that up on YouTube.
Well, there are some podcasters that I quite enjoy that will take segments from their podcast and put it as a YouTube video, but they'll have an editor come in and splice in relevant clips and make it visually interesting. It's not, you don't see the two people talking. Like a lot of podcasts, when it's a visual podcast, it's just the talking heads. It would be like if we released what we're seeing right now while we're talking to each other. Which to me is like, why?
People like it.
I could be doing something else with my eyes. That's the cool thing about podcasts is I don't need to see it. I could look.
Sure.
I clean my house, man. I can't do that if I'm trying to look at something.
Sure, but
drive my car.
The other side of that coin is you're getting your content out to people that might not normally see it. They're scrolling through their For You page on TikTok. They come across a video of us talking. We're animated. We're saying some funny shit. And they're like, I'm gonna go listen to that podcast. These guys sound pretty funny. That's what it is. That's why most people do that.
Man, I hate the internet, you guys.
Me too.
I hate it so much. It's turned us all into like dancing monkeys. Every time there was a band today I saw on Instagram.
Was it the monkey?
No, where they were like, "We'll send you a free. You buy our CD, and we'll send you a Pokemon card." And it's like, oh yeah, why? Why? Because you have to differentiate yourself because there's so many people out there, and it's not about musical ability anymore. It's about how well you can sell yourself. Is that why?
Gimmicks.
Is that
Honestly,
why?
Tucker, yes. Like
There
that's kind
was
of it's the problem with the internet is everything is oversaturated. Everything has been done
burn the internet.
twice, and like
Man,
people got to do stupid gimmicky shit like that to like make a name for themselves.
back in my day, you just had to have a tight band and a good press kit. That's all you needed. And then you go out and you play shows. People hear your music. They tell their friends, and then their friends come to the next show, and they tell 5 friends, and they tell 5 friends, and they tell 5 friends,
Sounds like a pyramid scheme to me.
And so on and so on
and so on.
But here's the thing that you might be aware of, Tucker, that really depressed me when I heard it for the first time.
Yeah.
Is do you notice that most mainstream music isn't bands anymore? And
I see a
that's
lot of bands, but
well,
that's
you
probably
see a
just
lot
my
of bands,
algorithm.
but is mainstream music? How many bands do you see anymore? Because, like, sure, I can go on Spotify. I follow a shit ton of bands that are like new
Yeah.
that have been made in the past 5 or 6 years, 2 or 3 years even. But like mainstream music, pop music, even modern rock music nowadays, like there aren't a whole lot of bands because people don't. And I don't know if this is true. It seems like it is. People don't need bands anymore because of all the technology. They can produce their own music. They don't need a drummer. They don't need a guitarist.
You know what the worst thing in the world is when you go to a show and it's a guy with a guitar and a backing track. Like, fuck you. Absolutely fuck you in the most uncomfortable part of your body.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
No.
people think they don't need a band anymore.
The only thing worse than that is a singer reading the lyrics off of his phone during the show. That's the only thing worse than that.
Yeah.
Oof. And you know what? I was scrolling through Instagram today, which I'm trying to stop. But Kyle Gass, I follow Kyle Gass from Tenacious D on Instagram, and he did a little sort of impromptu show with John C. Reilly, as they are pals. And John C. Reilly just reading the lyrics off his phone. And I was like, no. Nothing like takes the, like, it used to be music stands. Like, look, if you're practicing in your practice space, you might have a music stand. I get that. But if you're playing a show, you don't get to have a music stand. You need to know that shit. You need to know it. Rant over. Unrelated and completely tangential rant over.
Yeah, anyway, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Is a movie that we watched.
You guys, when we were texting about it, we were talking about Carl Weathers and all that. I want you to know that I got in trouble at work because the internet frustrated me so much. Well, I didn't really get in trouble. It was implied. So I'm not a phone guy at work. I'm not that guy who, like, whenever I have a moment, I'm looking at my phone at work. But it was really slow, and we were texting about that, and I couldn't find a picture. There was a drawing or a painting or some sort of piece of art that I came across around 2013 of Carl Weathers in the American flag trunks and the boxing gloves, but he also had the Assassin's Creed robe on, and he had his hands to his side and his head down. And it was the coolest thing. It was my desktop background for so long, and I spent probably 10 minutes leaning against the dishwasher scrolling through Google image search for this. And I'm not an amateur Google sleuth. All right, I know how to find stuff. But it was impossible to find. And I just want you to know, while you guys were having a good time back and forth, I was sweating bullets trying to find this image. I even like looked in my old folders of wallpapers from those days, and it's mysteriously missing because I keep all that shit.
When was this conversation?
The other day when I was at work, when you said "Ask Creed" in all caps, and we were talking
when
about
I
Carl
was like,
Weathers.
oh yeah, are we talking about Michael B. Jordan's butt or something?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I was not saying anything because I was still trying so hard. Like, I looked all through Google, and then one of the owners walked by and he's like, "Hey, you want to straight up see if there's any sauces that need to be done?" That's not it. It's close, but this was kind of almost a photorealistic drawing. This is very reminiscent of it. But this is like a comic book drawing. This is like a regular comic book drawing. Mine was like a Jim Lee painted cover sort of thing.
I see. Jim
That's
Lee,
very-
famous for comic books.
I did not find this that you sent me, Steven. I did not see this on my search.
The first one that popped up for me.
Now, when you click on that, is there a similar images button that you could search through?
I'm looking through
It's
it
like,
right now.
look at
I'm
the
not
similar
I'm not
boys.
seeing it.
Oh, that's
riveting
too bad.
content, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Hey man, if you'd seen this image though, man, I told you it was my desktop background for so long.
What? Sure, that's great, but this is not a visual medium.
Yeah, well, it's not like we're
We're-
looking at it.
Steven's Googling a picture you're trying to describe to audio listeners. What are we
But
doing?
you know what? You know what? It's more exciting than this movie.
Let's be honest. I'm not really going to have much to contribute this month, so I'm going to do what I can to just,
Keep looking
I
for that
mean-
image, Brett.
I mean, that's
let's talk about
fine.
Assassin's Creed.
I'm just saying, let's remember it's an audio medium sometimes, guys. Come on.
Boo!
God, thank
No.
God I'm here. Like,
No.
is this what happens when I'm not here?
Yeah, Brett. What would
Yes.
we do without you? What would we do without you?
Probably be hemorrhaging listeners, honestly.
I guess so.
I think we have been, quite frankly.
Only about 20 on average.
This
Okay.
motherfucker's Googling again.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
that's part
we-
of...
Remember
Unsubscribe.
that was an early bit. Was Steven Googles things live?
Well, yeah.
Remember that was a recurring
That
segment?
didn't take very long. This bit went on for like 15 minutes. What? Like,
It's
I don't know.
the image is worth it. I'm just saying. You guys are really
Okay.
missing out. I challenge all of our listeners to find the image I'm thinking of. Has a white background, and like I say, it is Carl Weathers in his Apollo Creed boxing attire, but also with an Ezio robe and all the fixins over
And-
it.
If you look at it hard enough, you can almost hear James Brown's "Living in America."
Yeah. Or Or if
Station
you're a
to
cultured
station.
person like myself, Weird Al's living with a hernia.
That wasn't in Rocky IV.
Did you guys know? Did you guys know that when I had a hernia when I was probably about 22, I got a hernia, and the only way that I was familiar with the different kinds of hernias that I could get.
I am pretty sure this is a story you've told on this podcast multiple times.
The doctor tells me, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I know that. I've heard of that."
look, y'all, if you're still listening, thank
Oh,
you. If I had tuned into a podcast talking about the Assassin's Creed movie and like 30 minutes of it was this, I would have turned it off.
look,
Well,
it's
Brett,
indicative though. It shows you what this show is, and if you don't like it, look.
No, there's
I'm
a
not
difference
here.
between like tangents and like getting back on track. Like we've been off track for like 25 minutes.
Here's the thing, though. It is tradition on this podcast when we don't like the movie to talk about anything but the movie.
Well, maybe that's why I'm trying to get us back on track because I don't hate it nearly as much as you guys do.
Oh,
All right.
oh,
well,
I
then
didn't. I
regale
No,
us,
that's my-
Brett.
That's my bad. I just assumed everybody hated this movie because it sucks so hard. That's my bad.
No, I explicitly stated that I love the scenes in the past. I love how they connected it to the games. I just think most of the writing is bad and the modern day stuff is bad. But I don't hate this movie nearly as much as you two do, clearly. Like, I actually want to talk about it a little bit.
Then
like,
let's talk, Brett.
Heaven forbid.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Instead of talking about how you want to talk about it, let's just talk about it.
So
I've been trying to.
I'm trying to get us on track here. Look, you guys, this film was produced by the producer of every film since 1973, Frank Marshall. So that's something to mention, right?
Sure.
Hasn't he produced every movie? That's like what he does, right? It's his only thing. Every movie.
That's something to
Frank
talk
Marshall.
about, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's directed a few, too. But he's like a pitch hitter where it's like, oh, our director fell through. Well, if Frank's producing it, he could probably, I can do it. And then he does it. And, Frank
this movie has like 17 producers.
Yeah, but Frank Marshall's one.
This is most of the problem with movies on this podcast.
Not the Frank Marshall you're thinking of, though. This Frank Marshall is the guy who did produced Targets, The Last Picture Show, Martin Scorsese's The Last Waltz, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Congo, Signs.
Yeah, Frank Marshall. Every movie since 1973 he has produced, yes. Every movie. What Frank Marshall are you thinking of?
What's Penny's brother's name? Is it not Frank?
Are you thinking of E.G. Marshall, Steven?
No, I'm thinking of Penny Marshall's brother.
Penny from Inspector Gadget.
No, Penny Marshall from Laverne and Shirley.
Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I just told you which Penny, damn it.
Lenny and Squiggy.
Keep going.
Is that
Gary? Gary Marshall is her brother.
Oh, good. Sorry. I was out of him. Okay. Wow. Thank you, Steven. Whew, that bit ran its course.
as so many of them often do. All right, Brett, we're tagging you in. Go, sir.
Let's talk about movies. Assassin's Creed movies.
Yes, let's talk about a movie we watched.
Let's do it.
So, do we not do the plot anymore?
Look, I got a bone to pick about the plot in 60 seconds because look at you guys. I have invested financially in the plot in 60 seconds. Okay, even before I was a host on this, I invested financially. Not only did I spend over $30 on the actual Coin of Justice, but I spent over $5 on the official disenfranchised Egg Timer of Justice. Okay, and now, what has that investment yielded? Nothing. We don't even do it anymore. We cast it aside like it's not even part of the podcast. And one of my favorite little Steven bits is in that when he says it's 60 seconds or it's free, which is funny because our podcast is free. That's a good bit. Leaving money on the table, boys.
Weren't you the one who was all about skipping it?
Well, only sometimes because I hated the movie so much I didn't want to talk about it.
I mean, I guess that would be relevant here.
Look,
gestures wildly at movie being discussed.
Steven, it's okay when I don't want to do it.
Right. No, there it is. There it is. The truth comes out. Okay, now we understand.
This is what we call a double standard. Understood.
If nothing else, I have integrity and a little bit of self-awareness. So, am I being silly?
We're calling it now?
Sure, but I don't care.
No. Well, anyway, okay, so we don't got to do that. I was just asking so I know how to proceed. I didn't mean to cause all that.
It's a really nice timer, too. Like, look, you spin the outer edge of it. Look at that. That is so rad.
Remember when Tucker said he was trying to get us back on track?
Oh, my God.
I mean, that is a pretty cool timer. I'm not going to lie.
It's so rad, dude.
But anyway, if only you listeners could see it.
But my description of it it's so descriptive. You know, the really thing he does goes like this.
I'm crashing out.
It could be anything. It could be anything.
Anyway, Assassin's Creed. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know where to start. This is why I don't host.
Let's talk about something else then. How you guys?
No,
stop.
Steven,
the lore. Let's start with the lore because we were talking before the podcast started about, quote, all the lore. And I don't know jack shit about this video game franchise. I understood this movie like I understand like a text in Russian. So please please enlighten me, Brett. What was I supposed to have understood about this movie?
But much like the Handbook of the Dead, it reads like stereo instructions. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Yes. Here's what we need you to do, Brett, is explain all of the lore, and we will color commentate on it.
We're the Dennis Miller to your Al Michaels.
Yes.
Okay.
Go.
Look, there's a lot of it, and I'm not going to get a whole lot of it right, I don't think.
How much could you do in 60 seconds?
We're not going to do that.
Lore in 60 seconds.
I mean, they couldn't even. That does sound like a fun segment for the content, but we're not going to do that. Do you think I'm crashing out now? I definitely would if we tried.
Oh yeah.
Because as I mentioned,
Kill everyone, punch the cardinal.
Before the huge tangent, it's as convoluted as Kingdom Hearts is. So let me start with the MacGuffin of this movie, the Apple of Eden.
Yes.
There are multiple apples. This isn't the only one. Various apples of Eden have been present for various major events in the world. Most major historical figures have used or come in contact with an apple of Eden.
Like in real life, for real? For real?
No, not in real life.
Okay.
In this alternate reality where
obviously for real.
Okay.
God doesn't exist, but ancient aliens do. And they come to Earth and they start making humans.
Nice. Like you do.
Like you do. Just like another Michael Fassbender movie, Prometheus.
Yes.
Look at what I did there. But eventually,
he hid his accent better in that movie. He did not hide his accent very well in this. And it was really disappointing because he's from fucking California in this movie.
Yeah, and a descendant of a Spanish
California, Ireland, right? California is a city in Ireland.
Yeah, that's the one.
County Cork.
So eventually, you get some I think the ancient civilization are called Isus, ISU, Isus.
Yep.
You get some Isu human hybrids, and the Isus are using their technology to subjugate, the humans and the hybrids until Adam and Eve steal the first apple of Eden and rebel. And so the hybrids, the Isu hybrids, become the Templars.
Mm-hmm.
And the regular humans that Adam and Eve help liberate become the assassins.
Okay.
And they go to war for all of time. Templars wanting to use religion and spiritual artifacts, which is funny that the Templars create religion to control people. That's a fun thing that they do.
That is hilarious.
That mimics real life.
Right. Just like the Catholic Church.
Yeah, just like the Catholic Church. And ancient artifacts, because it's not just the apples. There's also other artifacts. The Pope's staff is an artifact of Eden that Ezio uses in Brotherhood.
Dude, yeah.
Combine the apple with the papal staff, and shit happens. I forget
and
what.
And the light shines, and it shows you where to go on the model of the city.
Just like Indiana Jones?
No,
that's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that's Indiana Jones. It's similar but different. We'll get to talk about Indiana Jones more next week.
We named the dog Indiana.
You were named for the dog?
Exactly.
You're doing great, Brett.
Thank you. You guys too.
We're not, but thank you.
Yeah, well, look, you're trying.
I'm working on it. I forgot that I wasn't inebriated, which is why I was so hyper. I purposely, because normally what happens on these late records is that I get too inebriated And so, like, I haven't done any sort of mind-altering substances or drink any alcohol or anything at all tonight, and I forgot. And so, I don't know if you guys noticed me being a little hyper earlier.
You were peeking out like crazy.
Now that you mentioned it, yes, you were. Yeah, that totally tracks. Yeah.
But now I got my long drink, and it's a strong long, too. Strong and long, like I like my men. And my straight up pen full of
vape juice.
Yeah. I got a new one today. It smells really good.
You could have ended your sentence at the cough. That would have been hilarious.
Maybe it will be ended at the cough in the edit of this episode that is released to people with ears.
We'll fix it in post.
There you go.
Maybe I will.
But anyway, back to the lore. So yeah, so the apples of Eden have been present in pretty much every major world event ever, from the assassination of JFK to World War II, because of course Hitler had one.
So do they have the same function in the games as they do in the movie, like controlling free will?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say that didn't sound familiar. I was like, maybe I didn't get to that.
They
game.
do different things. Because like the very first one that you see in Assassin's Creed 1 pretty much has like a map. Doesn't it show a map of all the other artifacts? I think is what the first apple does.
Yes, I think that's the only one I've played more than once. Yeah.
Yeah, the apple in the first game just shows a digital map of where all the other artifacts of Eden are located. So that's why Abstergo is trying to find it in the first game, which I'll get to the modern day story in a minute. Which I have to mention that if I'm remembering the lore correctly, Henry Ford is the one that sends the apple to Hitler.
That tracks.
If you would believe it.
No, I absolutely believe it.
Yeah.
Ford was a big fan of Hitler's.
Yeah, so there you go. So it's historically accurate.
Yeah.
Ford tough.
Harry Houdini had it, and that's how he was able to do magic.
All the escapes he did.
Yes, he was using an apple to do those, apparently. Tesla had one. That's how he was able to do shit with electricity.
He was how he's able to make electric cars.
Yeah.
And how he was able to do the Nazi salute at the inauguration.
That's a different guy.
Yeah, totally different guy.
Okay.
Tesla was cool.
And I don't have to bleep that because you didn't say the specific phrase.
Who, Elon Musk?
Oh.
Still fine. Still not bleepable.
Cool. I don't know what the phrase is, so I'll just move on. So well, don't say it, Tucker. What the fuck?
He'll just have to bleep himself. Look, I'll just say so he can say it.
Okay,
well, damn it, you said and now we're going on to this now.
No, we're not. We're moving on.
I muted my mic so that I could say it. Okay.
So that he can say...
Whether we move on or not, Brett, I still have to timestamp this because this is time in my future that I'm going to be spending on this. So I still have to do it.
This is time in Brett's present that he'll never get back.
That's what I'm trying to help Brett out here, but you just keep going with it, Steven.
Anyway, to touch on a few more, Napoleon used it to do his shit, conquer France that one time, or did he not conquer France? I don't remember.
He tried to conquer Europe,
but then he was on an island.
He got exiled.
Remember?
There, yeah,
Remember when he was on an island?
No, right.
How long do you think he lasted on that island?
I'm pretty sure we could probably look that up.
You know, he wasn't as short as...
We could just ask Jeff Probst. He would know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
where's Jeeves when you need him? Jeeves?
You posted the link in chat. You should ask.
I did. I should.
And then that time you went to Waterloo.
Home of the most excellent water slides.
He got that Ziggy Piggy.
Yeah, and then Bill and Ted had the apple for a little while. That was fun.
Can we get that movie, please, instead of this?
They made everyone excellent to each other.
By taking away their free will.
No, but he said that it didn't do that in the game, though.
But I was going by the movie logic.
Well, I
'cause it
don't
would be a
know.
movie.
One of them. Remember, there's multiples. I think there's like 15
So many
or 14.
apples. Whoa.
One
Not
of
even
them,
really a rare item at that point. Like
Exactly.
No, especially considering the fact that there's also other artifacts of Eden. It's not just apples, but there. I don't know if the fact that there's multiple apples became a sort of storytelling bullshittery device.
crutch.
Where
Yeah.
we're like, we need an artifact. It was supposed to be one apple, but now that we can't reconcile the timelines of everything working.
Too many MacGuffins.
So there's just, you know what? There's multiple
time of
apples.
year.
How about that? Because there's the one I mentioned on the moon, and that's the reason.
Appleverse.
That's the reason that NASA was created and the Apollo 11 mission happened, is because
How did it get there though? On the moon.
So apparently the Isu, when they crash landed here,
because the aliens. You right. I forgot.
right? They were trying to get back into space, failed,
Yeah.
and an apple got stuck on the moon.
Yeah. Just
so
sometimes you
the-
drop one.
So the Apollo 11 mission was to retrieve the apple of Eden from the moon, which succeeded apparently.
Tom
Of course,
Hanks was
why-
going to get that, and Kevin Bacon.
That's Apollo
Apparently.
13.
It's
Oh,
an
right, that's Apollo 13.
They were still going to the moon.
Well, yeah, because they had, then after they got the thing back, they had to keep up pretense, and so they had to send a whole bunch more people
Or
back.
maybe
Yeah,
they
they can
thought
be like,
there was
we
another way.
successfully made it to the moon. Let's shut this down. Shut this all down.
Well, and also you go to the moon to get that artifact, but then you're like, holy shit, we actually just went to the moon, though.
Yeah, it's probably what happened.
Like, side quest, let's go back to the moon. Like, not even for the artifact, maybe just like to study it.
Maybe
And
just
there's-
hang out
and
on the moon.
So I can sort of explain that,
We
like,
got these
one of the
rocket
apples,
ships.
there's
These
two
astronauts.
apples that were present at JFK's assassination, one of which was used to create the illusions of multiple shooters. So
That's
there you go.
Clever question.
But like the Templars wanted JFK dead so bad they used two apples to kill that motherfucker.
Wow, that's when you gotta be sure, it's gotta be two apples.
That's true. I don't know where the modern lore ends in terms of where the apples are and what's going on with them outside of this movie. The movie does this weird thing where like it doesn't contradict any of the lore, but it doesn't confirm it either. Because like the way they talk about the Apple of Eden seems to indicate there's only one of them, right?
Right.
But and like the Templars at this point in time should have possession of one or more of them, I think. So
Well, I think
maybe they're looking
that's
for this one in particular that they know that can control people. They don't explain that. That'll probably been explained in the sequel. Who knows?
I think that's a big problem with this script too, is that it doesn't want to settle on anything. Everything's kind of ambiguous, and I don't want to say vague because there's a story there happening, but it's almost so conveniently vague. They could have done anything with the sequel because of that. It's kind of brilliant, but also the script suffers for it, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking to my girlfriend last night about this. Like, it's kind of ahead of its time in terms of we're not going to base this on any current game. We're going to make it its own thing. So that way we don't have to follow any already established story other than the lore.
Right.
That Ubisoft is there to sign off on, which they did. This movie fits within the lore of the games. The main character of Origins is the woman. I think it's Origins. Is the woman who designed this version of the Animus in the movie.
Oh, nice.
Who Dr. What's-Her-Face steals.
Why has it got to be an arm in this one? Like, because I remember in the old games, he just kind of laid in a thing.
It's
Or
just
it
a
was
chair.
in a chair, right?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't played Origins, so I haven't read all of those files to know like what the difference is and why it's better. I think this is like Animus version 4.7 or something like that.
I think it should have been really cool to cut back to the Animus every once in a while during the action scenes, but it wasn't because that thing was fucking stupid.
Is it to differentiate it from the Matrix? Because essentially
Probably.
it's kind of like the Matrix. Like he's in a
'Cause-
chair
Oh,
plugging
yeah,
into
that's-
something.
Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
Origins came out way after this movie. So like Origins is retconning why that Animus looks the way it does.
Gotcha.
Because yeah, I'm sure the original reason that it looks like that is so that it doesn't get compared to the Matrix. Because otherwise, Michael Fassbender just would have been sitting in a chair, jacked in to the Animus.
But a really nice chair, though.
Sure. Yeah.
Like in the Matrix, everything in the real world was kind of dingy and like if you were in a chair, like there was some stuffing popping out of it and a spring popping out the side, you know. Like,
Right.
the Animus is a piece of technology that is clearly not just a chair, like in the Matrix. I do see the similarities. I get it, but for me, it's not like it doesn't.
I mean,
it's
and even
fine,
the earlier Animuses, like Animi, like the one in the first game, where it's like dudes just laying on a table.
Yeah.
So like the chair was the iteration on that, and then the arm and whatnot is the iteration on that. So
see, I think if they wanted to do something like this, they should have just had him like suspended in some other way, because to have this made me think of just like a really extreme version of those virtual reality treadmills.
Well, and that's sort of like in the later games, that's what the Animus becomes. Like
Barf.
you can just like jack in like anywhere. I think I forget which game. Like the main character, when they start doing the modern day games in first person, like you can just sort of, the dude is working. You're working at Abstergo. You're just like an employee there, and I think you can just like jack in from your PC. If I recall, I don't remember exactly.
And play Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, you can just.
But for real.
I mean, that's the. It's been a long time, so bear with me. But if I recall, that's just kind of what you did as an employee in this department of Abstergo. You just sort of jacked in, tested out the Animus by fucking around as one of your ancestors.
I was gonna say a few of these games that I'm looking at here have like the main characters are researchers of some kind. Mm-hmm. The Abstergo researcher, Helix researcher, yeah, starting with 4, I think, but yeah.
Yeah,
I want a spin-off game where like you're one of those guys, but your ancestors are like really boring and like don't do anything exciting. They're just like tax collectors or something, or like bakers.
You want that game from what, Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty, yeah.
Yeah, where he's just that dude. He lives that dude's entire life, and when he comes
out,
like carpet or whatever.
Yeah, he sells carpet. Yeah.
Yes, kind of like that. No, that would be kind of fun, because you could then you could bring it into different genres. Like I said, if maybe your ancestors were bakers, you could do a cooking sim, Assassin's Creed, the cooking sim. You know, various other jobs and cool things you can make mini games out of.
You're kind of.
You could even kind of do that.
Pardon my pun, cooking there a little bit.
I was saying you could do, even in a mainline game, you could have the main story where the person's doing this historically significant thing, but then also maybe every once in a while he jumps into a different ancestor and it's just a mini game based on some like menial task. That would be kind of cool if they did it. If it's not boring, it could be boring, is what I'm saying. But I think that would also be cool.
I think it would too, but I think the ship has sailed on Assassin's Creed popularity to ever do something like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this most recent one is getting a lot of hate for its content. So,
dude, you could do so many different genres with that. I'm just sitting here thinking of all the different things that you could do, and it's wild.
Well, if you ask me, and maybe this is a hot take, and maybe Assassin's Creed fans who've made it this far into the episode, God bless you.
Good job.
Would disagree when I say that Assassin's Creed may be the biggest video game franchise with the most wasted potential because they got too bogged down with trying to please everybody. It tried to be a franchise jack of all trades, master of none, and they just they shit the bed.
Dude, yeah.
That's
why for me the simpler the better. Like first 2 games, peak, perfect.
Yeah.
The rest of it just gets busier and busier and busier and busier.
Yeah, and I think like Brotherhood, the third game, Brotherhood, was the peak for me because that was the limit of extra shit. Like I didn't want any more extra shit than that. You let me play Ezio's story, and occasionally I go back to the fucking home base and send some assassins out to do stuff. I dick around in a couple menus for a little bit. All I got to do. I don't need to sit there for hours managing, like, I have a base here that needs this defenses, and I have this base over here that needs these defenses. And, like, there's an attack on this base, and I need to get there in time, or else the base is going to fall, and I got to pay to repair it. Fuck off. This isn't Assassin's Creed Tower Defense. I don't want to do that.
That's exactly what killed the reboot Tomb Raider franchise for me, because the first 2 were real good and real fun, and then I played the third one, and after the opening scene you're in this village and you have to, like, there's shops and you have to get quests from people, and it's like, no, I was doing the one thing and it was real fun, and now you're killing my fucking momentum. I want to do the fun thing. And I want to do it now.
Yeah, that's not Tomb Raider. I played the first reboot Tomb Raider, and I thought it was really good.
Oh, so good. Second one's real good, too. Real good.
Okay.
Very. It's those and the Uncharted games, I think, are a very, very similar genre. Very specific part of that genre.
I love the Uncharted games. They're good fun. Like they're the video game equivalent of just like a fun action movie that you just turn your brain off and just have a good time.
And you can do both characters in both franchises. They can just do anything, dude. Like, it's still grounded. It's very grounded, but also completely insane.
Yeah,
completely insane.
Sure, yeah, but that's kind of that's
very cool balance to strike there.
That's your stereotypical video game protagonist, though.
Yeah.
We're looking at you, Leon Kennedy.
Oh, Leon. Look, I started my 4th playthrough with the infinite rocket launcher, and I got bored in the 2nd chapter. I was like, this isn't fun. Just shooting everything with a rocket launcher.
The infinite rocket launcher is only good if you want to do like a professional run to get the Chicago typewriter unlocked.
I don't know what that is, but I don't care because that's boring.
It's a Tommy gun, brother. It's an infinite Tommy gun.
Yeah, well.
When you upgrade it all the way, it gets the barrel, so it looks like an old school, like, mobster Tommy gun.
Oh, nice. I've been playing.
Ammo upgrade gives it the drum clip.
Oh, nice. Like,
so you put Leon in the mobster outfit with the.
Oh, like, that's what that's for.
Mafia Chicago typewriter, and it's.
Yeah,
he does a little like Michael Jackson. He does a little Michael Jackson dance if you try to reload the Chicago typewriter and you're wearing that outfit.
That's
pretty good.
Cool.
It's pretty good.
Mark? Yeah.
I think it's cool. I don't know if you do, but
my pretty much instant disgust with the infinite rocket launcher drove me into the arms of this random game called Kingdom 2 Crowns. And boy, is it the most addicting thing that I've played since Balatro. It's very difficult to stop playing this game, which is why I have to be proactive and not start playing it when I know I don't have like 6 hours to sink into it.
Sure.
Because you never really want to stop. There's not a lot of games like that for me. I don't get addicted to games, but some of them they really really scratch an itch for me. And
What genre is it?
Kingdom
I've
Two
heard of it.
Crowns, it's kind of it's a strategy game, sort of. It's a 2D game. It's very strange because unlike most games where you get resources and build a community and have your fighters and your builders and your gardeners and everything, it's not three-dimensional in any way. It's just you can only go left or right. And it's one of the most relaxing games I've ever played, and it's the first game in a really long time that I've had difficulties. I stayed up way too late a few nights last week playing that game because I was like, I just gotta check this one thing real quick, and then no wait, I gotta go over to that side to check that thing real quick and make sure this is. But I do need to upgrade that though, so and it just never ends. Like you have to keep going, or like you're afraid you're gonna miss something, or forget something, or like neglect something. Because if you go to sleep and you come back a couple days later, maybe you'll forget about that tower that needs to be repaired, or maybe you'll forget that a whole bunch of farmers got killed, so you need to make more farmers. And then you dream about it all night. It's like some people dream of Tetris. I've been dreaming of Kingdom Two Crowns. All night I'm going around just like improving structures, exploring and recruiting people for my community in my dreams.
Well, that's cool.
Infinite loop. No!
That is cool. That is pretty cool.
It's not cool because
before we move on, what system?
I can't do it.
What system is it on? What systems is it on?
It's on all the things. I have it on the Xbox, but I do know for a fact it's straight up on this. What's that thing? The Switch and the Steam.
Can I play it on my Gen 1 Game Boy?
No. Steven.
You said it was on everything.
No, it's not.
You could probably play it on your PC though. It's pretty low specs. Fire up that Steam account, Steven.
Yeah, that'll do it. So anyway, I mean,
but the Kingdom 2 Crowns isn't the only one they have. It's a whole series of games, Brett.
Sure,
they've got
I'm aware of that. I didn't know that was what they were about, but that's
they've
really
got
cool.
one
anyway,
that takes place in the 80s, like a Stranger Things sort of thing. I don't even know how that works. But anyway, sorry, Brett. I can tell you're trying to move on. I'm really excited to talk about it, but I guess if you want to move on, we can.
Well, I mean,
later, I guess.
We spend some time. We will. Yeah.
Right,
don't worry.
Okay.
I mean, look,
okay.
Look, we got other stuff to record that we should use as avenues, vehicles to talk about these other things.
All right. Okay.
Because we need to do that, honestly, if we can figure out when to do that.
Okay.
Because I would love nothing more than to discuss video games with you, Tucker. You know I love that.
Yeah, dude. I'm a big fan, too.
You know I love you, baby. So anyway, that's the modern lore, though, is Desmond is the main character. He's a dude that doesn't know he's an assassin, but quickly learns once Abstergo kidnaps him to try to figure out where the apple is. Much like the story of this movie, honestly.
I was going to say, I'm sensing some similarities here.
They figure out that his ancestor Altair knew where an apple was. So they kidnap him to try to figure it out. To try and trick him into thinking that Abstergo and the Templars are good people. Just trying to do a good thing. But there's a secret agent for the assassins that helps him out and gets him out of the Animus. And they go on the lam and they have somebody that has like a portable Animus.
Yeah.
That they jack him into. And that's when we play as Ezio, who also knew about an apple.
Smart guy. And he knew Leonardo da Vinci too.
He did, yeah. Ezio
helped him out quite a bit. You get to fly in the flying machine. You glide around, and the the whole city's on fire, so like the heat takes you up, and it's really cool. That's a really cool sequence.
It is
very
really
very
cool.
cool.
A really cool reference in the movie that Da Vinci helps you with is, you know, in the very first scene when they cut off his ring finger. That dates back to the origins, wink, of the assassins, where the main character goes to stab a dude with a blade and like it malfunctions and cuts off his ring finger as he's stabbing the dude. So he incorporates that into like the creed until Ezio comes along and he's like, "What?" Because he's not an assassin to start the game with. He sort of becomes one. He's like
he's
inducted into the creed. He's just a dude that hates the Templars for killing his family.
Has a great fashion sense too.
I
love the clothes that he wears before he dons the robes.
But even his robes are really fucking cool looking.
Yeah,
so,
dude. Like, and Altier's were just like very basic, but Ezio was like Will Smith. He's like, you know what the difference between me and you is, Altier? I make this look good.
He looks like a character in Conclave.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
Academy Award-winning movie starring Ray Fiennes and Stanley Tucci and John Lithgow.
Yeah, right.
I
the
like
Oscars
all those
last
guys.
night, ladies and gentlemen, at time of recording.
Oh, was that a movie this year?
Yeah. It's my
cool.
third favorite movie of 2024. It fucking rules.
Cool.
It's about a bunch of like cardinals like talking in like darkened hallways and shit.
We gotta punch them motherfuckers.
Do you guys remember?
It's 100% my
fake
shit.
trailer on Tropic Thunder with Tobey Maguire and Robert Downey Jr.
Satan's
where
Alley,
the
of course.
priestesses. That's really funny. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah. So as Ezio's learning about the creed and like getting inducted into it, he's like, "Why the fuck do I gotta cut off my ring finger? We're gonna fix that because I don't want to lose my ring finger." So he has Da Vinci design a new hidden blade for him. And so that's why when you see his father later, he doesn't have his pinky finger is intact. He didn't have to cut it off.
Which is nice.
But and that's cool. That's a cool Easter egg for fans of the game. But it's so subtle. Like it's so ridiculously subtle. They're like, why? Like, you don't want to put a hat on a hat, right? But like, you want to put maybe like a little bit more of a hat on that.
Nobody likes a hat on a hat.
Maybe just a little, like a tiny little bit of a hat.
Maybe don't put a hat on it. Just like circle it a little bit so that we can like see it.
Yeah, just like just
Ready.
nudge, just a little nudge, like check that out.
Arrow.
And then, just something. Well, not like YouTube thumbnails where they're like circling it with red and a giant red arrow. Like, did you catch this Easter egg in Assassin's Creed?
Because like and again, maybe this is just me being dumb about this movie and this franchise, but I didn't understand until right toward the end, like right before the final set piece of the movie, that Abstergo were the bad guys.
Yeah, they don't sell that real well, do they?
No, they really don't. Like the Charlotte Rampling says something about Torquemada earlier, and I'm like, wait, are these good guys or bad guys? Like that's really weird.
Well, see, and the same thing for me. I've played the games and I understand them and everything, but it was not clear to me, and I was paying attention. I did not look at my phone during this film as much as I wanted to. I didn't. I was paying attention though. And I still, until probably about 2/3 of the way through it, I was like, oh yeah, I guess those are the Templars. Because at first I was like, oh good, the assassins, and they're gonna help everybody. But then they started, Jeremy Irons was like kind of talking weird, and I was like, wait, maybe those are the Templars. And but they didn't frame it like it was supposed to be a twist. Like I feel like I was supposed to know.
Hold on. So you played, how many Assassin's Creed games did you play?
All the way through 3 of them.
And you didn't
4
know
of them.
You didn't know the Templars owned Abstergo till just now?
They came out. When they came out, I played those games, and I haven't played them since. And no, I don't memby a lot about those games. I remember the main like deal of what you do in the games, and I remember flying around with the city on fire. And I remember like the coolest part was when you would do the actual assassination, when you assassinate the target. And I was really disappointed they didn't do that in this movie, because like when you get to them and you're about to do it, like time stops, and you and the victim are like in this void, and like you talk, like he has a whole conversation with the motherfucker, like Sam Jackson in Pulp Fiction style.
That is the thing that happens in the game.
And he's like, I respect you and I love you, and then he kills him. He doesn't say respect you, I love you, but basically that's the gist.
I wish that had been in the movie too, at least.
Oh, it's such a cool part for those games, man.
Because
that
in the
void
game,
is so weird.
Let me explain, Steven. So in the games, most of the missions in the game are the main missions, the big ones, are when you have an assassination target. They're usually, the bigger characters in the game. They're the general of an army. They're the Pope.
Political figures and such.
Political figures and such. And it's usually a big ordeal, and it's a long, fucking arduous task to get to them and kill them. Usually never stealthily in my case, because I sucked at the stealth in Assassin's Creed. I tried, goddammit, but I was pretty bad at it anyway. But when you got to them and killed them, like Tucker's saying, it would go into like this void in the animus of you talking to the person you just killed. And like there's exposition, there's lore, there's like, final death, deathbed revelation sort of things happening. And then in Ezio's case, he's like, Requiescat in pace.
Yeah, he's always very sweet about it at the end. He's real sweet boy. He's like, I hope you go to heaven.
Yeah,
basically.
And if I recall, Ezio always also did like close their eyes.
Yeah, dude, they did do that in this movie. They did do that,
which I think was meant to be a callback to that.
Yeah, that wasn't enough.
Maybe they didn't know how to work it into the story to make it make sense.
Give me the void or give me nothing.
Yeah. So, but yeah. And so I wish they'd done that. That'd have been cool. Me too. But like I said, maybe
they still do that in the games, though? Do they still do that?
I don't know.
I'll ask my roommate if she's not here right now. I'll text her someday, and I'll let you guys know. Next episode, I'll come back with an update.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So back to the modern day. So over the course of multiple games, Desmond is like finding out more about the ancient aliens, and there's one ancient alien that's really good and wants to help the assassins, and there's one ancient alien that's really bad and wants to help the Templars. And I think the good.
Are they different colors?
No, they're just the same sort of digital projection that comes out of various pieces of Eden.
Oh, I do memby that. See, like, the more you talk about it, the more it comes back, but, like, I can't recall that shit because, like, I don't know, man.
You've slept since then.
And also, you don't have the touch of the tism like I do.
And as I mentioned a couple episodes ago, I recently read an article on the internet that said, and this is news to me, that if you smoke...
Have you heard about this?
Have you seen this? If you smoke marijuana, get this, it can affect your memory.
What?
No.
Absurd. Who'da thunk?
Well, yeah, so it's a combination of the weed and you don't have enough of the tism like I do. So,
man, I wish I had just a little bit more.
You really don't.
Just a pinch, like a little bit of fairy dust.
just a little sprinkle of tism.
Yep.
Right over the top. So anyway, it builds to this culmination. It seems to be building, as I mentioned earlier, this building towards this game. Maybe Assassin's Creed 3 or 4 would have been the modern day one, where we're fighting the Templars in the modern day, and Desmond is leading the modern day assassins. But no, they just decide to kill him off. He sacrifices himself because, of course, he does.
Like
Sure.
And and then the next game after that is us, like, as an Abstergo employee. And I mean, as you go around the office, you do see characters that Desmond interacted with and were part of his party. And you're thinking that that's going to go somewhere. You're thinking that, like, those people have infiltrated Abstergo and something's going to happen. The modern day story is still going, just in a different way. No, that's not
Those
the
are
case.
just Easter eggs.
Yeah, that's not real. Because I finished that game and nothing happened with that, as far as I remember. So yeah, that's where it ends, really. Maybe the movie, like, maybe Tucker's right. Maybe that's what would have happened if the movie got a sequel. That maybe the modern day story would have happened in the movies.
Well, and see, that would have been cool because, like you said, Brett, as much as boring and as dull as this movie is, the parts where they are actually back in the past doing the assassin shit and all the dialogues in Spanish, that shit's real good. It's just wrapped up in a shitty movie, and if we got, since they're assassins in the modern times at the end of this movie, we would just have twice as much of that, because as the story moved forward in the original games, they kind of went on the road and had the portable animus and shit. You could have done that. They could have been kicking ass in the modern times and then doing it in the past, and it would be really cool to see. Like in this, it wasn't cool to see the differences in, lighting and shot composition and editing techniques, because the modern day was so sterile and boring. But it would be really interesting in a sequel to have kind of these two movies having parallel plots sewn together by the animus and showing us, like I said, kind of two different movies, because you wouldn't shoot both time periods the same way. I just think that would be interesting in the hands of the right director. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Be
because then
visually cool,
the
probably.
movie is following the same storyline. Like, they're on the run. Templars are trying to track them down, but they have a portable animus that they can Jack Callum into. But I mean, but that's the thing. We'd have to find a different ancestor, because Aguilar's story ends with him giving the apple to Christopher Columbus.
Right.
We're pretty sure Aguilar doesn't do anything after that, other than more assassin shit, but like nothing of significance assassin shit.
Right.
But maybe you have him interact with Ezio, because they lived around the same time.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Ezio.
Who's
shows
playing
up?
Ezio, Brett? Who are you casting as Ezio in
Oh,
2017?
man, I don't know. That's
2017.
I don't know.
Ezio.
This is a question for Steven. Like, think of a really, like, good Italian American actor.
I was gonna say I would probably pick someone Italian passing, someone who's played his share of Italian characters, Antonio Banderas, but he might be a little old in 2017, 2018.
I could see
Depending on when they said it, we could get old Ezio, because, like, in Revelations, we follow Ezio's entire life.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ezio,
I'd say
straight up just dies of old age at the end of Revelations. So
Jeffrey Dean Morgan would be cool as Ezio. I don't think he's Italian, but I think he has the build for it, and like I don't know, just the body type for it, because Ezio's just a dude, like a farmer. He's built like a farmer, basically. Ezio is.
I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan has the wrong kind of swagger, though.
You think so?
Like, Ezio is like cocky, like fast talking swagger.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan is more of like the slow talking Southern.
He is the comedian.
True.
I don't think it's outside of his range, is all I'm saying. I don't think that's the best choice. I think we can think of somebody better.
Yeah, let us know
in the comments. Who's going to be Ezio in circa 2017, 2018?
Yeah.
Patreon.com/disenfranched join
And
the official conversation.
what
of the
historical
Disenfranched
figure would
podcast.
you have wanted to see in the sequel? Because I'm sure
Wait.
there would have been a big one. Like,
I know. Who's the guy who's in Bringing Out the Dead, and he like used to date Jennifer Lopez. He's a singer.
Mark Anthony?
Yes.
Enrique Iglesias?
Close.
No.
No, Mark Anthony. Put some weight on that guy. I think you'd have a good Ezio. Yeah.
I can see that.
He was real good in Bringing Out the Dead. I remember
What
when I saw
about-
that, I was like, you mean the pop singer from
What if we-
and he's doing the thing? Like,
What if we go a little younger and go with John Bernthal?
oh, I'd have to see the hair on him. It would be because, well, I don't know. What do you think, Brett?
I don't know if I've seen him in a role that is similar enough to Ezio that I can make that call.
He's kind of got the build for it. Because like I say, he's kind of like blue collar strong. Like John Barenthal looks like he works a factory job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's
So
kind
like
of how Ezio
really,
is body type.
Steven, yeah, like you've got the body type right, but Ezio is very like, very charismatic,
Smooth. He's a smooth gentleman.
fast talking, like cocky.
Here's the thing about John Bernthal.
Thin
He's
beard.
an actor. He can play. He's got range.
Yeah, I know. And look, I've been saying that about our.
Well, that's
previous
true.
shows.
All right, then fine. Let's have Tom Hanks play Ezio. How about that,
Yeah,
Steven?
okay.
He's an actor,
Great.
right? Let's just fucking do it.
Tom Hanks is Ezio in Assassin's Creed 2. The game. Or the movie,
Yeah.
sorry. Not the game. Asterisk, not the
game,
game. Tom Hanks.
But you know what you do, though? You around 2017, you get Kristen Bell to reprise her role from the games.
Oh, I thought you were going to say from Pootie Tang.
No. What? Why? Why would I? No.
So that's Tucker. Is always ever thinking of Pootie Tang to the exclusion of most other things.
It's true. Someone mentions Kristen Bell. I don't think of Frozen. I don't think of The Good Place. I don't think of Veronica Mars. No, I think of the deleted scene from Pootie Tang that they were kind enough to put in the credits. Thank you, comedy movies that put all their deleted scenes in the credits. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Oh, we didn't even touch on the deleted scenes in this movie. I don't know if you guys
I
saw
didn't see
those.
those.
There was a whole ass other character they cut out of this movie. Did
Nice.
you?
I
Did you
believe
know?
it.
Have you seen this? Or have you heard about this?
No,
Wasn't it supposed to be 2.5 hours long, this movie?
So like there's a whole other character that is supposed to be the descendant of Aguilar's partner.
Oh,
Oh,
that gal.
okay.
That gal he
Yeah.
touches noses with.
Yeah. She's like younger. She's like in her 20s though. She's like way younger than he is.
Was that the other girl that was like hanging
Like
out
you
with in the in the place?
I don't think so. I think she was cut out of the
Yeah,
movie.
she's not in it at all.
Oh, okay.
But like she does
Not even a little
drawings.
bit.
She does a lot of drawings, just
Like
like
Simon.
she was doing. So like yes, she likes to do drawings.
That's what I've heard.
So like that was supposed to tie into like the stuff he was drawing at the beginning of the movie. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
doesn't seem as completely irrelevant as it does now.
What was he drawing with? He was using his fingies, but what was he?
Probably
was
like
it
a piece,
ash or
like a piece of
coal?
pencil lead that he probably took out of a pencil. He was in
Mhm.
prison. I don't fucking know. They figure it out.
Who did he kill? Why is he in jail? Who did he kill?
A pimp.
Would have liked to know a little more about that.
I mean, maybe they would have explored it in the second one. I mean, it's sort of a callback to the game. Like this, it's a bit of a stretch, but like a lot of like, especially if you think about like the Ezio's games, like like a lot of his contacts are courtesans and ladies of the night, and
Yeah,
they do that a
Working
lot
girls.
in the Jack the Ripper DLC of Syndicate. They touch on that a lot too. So that may be a callback to that part of the lore. It's
Or maybe
another one
it's
of
a
those
Taxi
like
Driver reference.
maybe you could put a little bit more of a hat on this thing. That would have helped.
Or a mohawk. Yeah.
Something to draw attention to it, please. There's some other deleted scenes that expand the lore and make it not as fucking confusing for the layman. But they had to cut all that out because who fucking cares, right?
Hey, and here's the thing: if it were 2.5 hours long, and that meant we got more stuff in the past that was really fun and good times and stuff.
There was no deleted scenes from the past that I'm aware of.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, look, man. Look, I will cap off this episode because it's time to wrap it up.
Oh gosh, yes.
We're gonna cap off this episode by saying that I own this movie in physical media.
Oh fuck yeah!
Okay.
Got that Blu-ray?
Yeah, because
Fuck yeah, dude.
it was around the time Deadpool 2 came out that they were doing the Deadpool covers
Mm-hmm.
movies. And I was like, I want to buy one of these.
Are you gonna show us?
know. I'll buy the Assassin's Creed one. No, I don't. I think it's downstairs. I forgot to bring it up
man,
here.
what the fuck?
Man, I'll send you a picture when we're done. All right.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
All right. Yeah.
Think of that.
I mean, it's basically just a movie poster, but like one side.
Now he Google shit.
Yeah, I do.
We've come full circle. Steven, would you take us home, please?
Sure. Assassin's Creed, the film, 2016, came out on December 21st. In the year of our Lord 2016, the world was a little darker. A small fat man named Donald Trump had just taken office, or was getting ready to take office, and the world was terrified, and it needed laughter, which is why Assassin's Creed opened at number 5 at the box office that weekend. It earned in its opening weekend $11 million. On its way to a domestic gross of $54.6 million. It earns another, it actually does gangbusters overseas, $186.1 million international for a grand box office total of $240.8 million.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, around that time, Assassin's Creed, I wouldn't even say it was at the height of its popularity. And even then, Assassin's Creed is not a blockbuster franchise.
Mm-mm.
You might have been able to say that at one point, but not in 2016.
Right.
And it was definitely a way more popular video game franchise overseas than it was in America. So the fact that it opens at number 5 and they chose to make a movie about Assassin's Creed is ridiculous. Anyway, carry on.
At number 1 this week, not even opening. It's been in theaters for 2 weeks. It's Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. A movie I saw in theaters that weekend.
Nice.
In second place, Sing. An animated film with Reese Witherspoon and a bunch of other people playing singing animals. In third place, Passengers, that creepy Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence movie. In fourth place, Why Him? The movie where Zoe Deutsch brings James Franco home to her parents, Bryan Cranston and Megan Mullally. And in fifth place, Assassin's Creed. Rounding out the top 10.
That's the movie we watched.
It is.
Nice.
Rounding out the top 10, you've got the 5th week of Moana. The 2nd week of Fences, opening wide this week, up from 25th place to 7th. In 8th place, future not quite Best Picture winner La La Land. And in 9th place, Office Christmas Party. In 10th place, Collateral Beauty. So there you go. There's our top 10. The tomatometer score on this movie is a 19%. The critics' consensus: Assassin's Creed is arguably better made and certainly better cast than most video game adaptations. Unfortunately, the CGI-fueled end result still is a joylessly overplotted slog. Good job, critics.
Yeah, I unfortunately have to agree with that. I mean, I slightly disagree because I'm a fan. But that's the thing. Fans only like this movie a little bit more
than the average person.
Not much.
That's fair. The Metascore is a 36 based on generally unfavorable reviews from 38 critics. And the Letterboxd score. Tucker, Garrett, take a stab.
What movie is it? Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
I guess. You know what? I don't even know anymore, dude. I'm gonna say between a 2.3 and 2.7.
2.0.
Okay. I don't think I'm good at this anymore. Maybe Letterboxd has changed. Remember, I was so good at it, and then like all of a sudden, I'm just so far off every week.
That's okay though.
You weren't that far off. He's at 2.3 on the low end. You were only 0.3 off. That's not that bad.
3/10.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, you will. It's
All right,
content.
We're running out of bits to do.
Right. We've lost all of our bits, and
We've
the
stopped
innate
doing
rambling
most
of
of
this
them.
podcast.
Cutting
is-
all of the bits. All
Yeah.
the bits get cut.
We're just now a very lean, no bits
Chaos.
podcast.
Just chaos.
Brett, out of 5 stars, how many are you giving to 2016's Assassin's Creed?
Let me tell you, I started at 2.5 after I watched it, and then I dug back into the lore. I did a little bit more research. I watched some YouTube videos, brought it up to a 3.
Okay.
Just
All
a
right.
0.5 made me respect it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
Fair enough.
yeah, 3.
Tucker, what about you?
This is gonna get a 2 from me. Like, I will concur with Brett that the stuff when he's in the Animus is mostly pretty rad, and like the running and the parkouring and the fighting is all really engaging and cool, but they always cut it off right when it's getting exciting every time. They're like, "Nope, you're having too much fun." It's like Graham Chapman in the episodes of Flying Circus, where he's the general, where he's like, "Stop that! It's too silly," and he makes them stop stuff. Like that's. So yeah, too. Like there's good stuff there, but as a whole, it's kind of shit.
Yeah, it's a 1.5 for me. Like I could not figure out what the hell this.
And with no context, I can't imagine. Like half the fun of the good stuff in this movie was having context of the games, like the free running and the parkour and everything. That was fun because you remember that experience in the games, and it feels kind of like it, you know. So if you don't have that, then
yeah, I mean, there's shit in those scenes straight out of the game, like running across the
and the little hops.
wires.
He does the
and
little hops.
All the
so many hops.
Yeah, like all the parkour is straight. You know what else I fucking hated is the Assassin's Creed games have such great, beautiful soundtracks.
Yes.
What the fuck is the soundtrack in this movie?
Garbage.
Like, garbage. It's just like the same. It has no. It's just nothing. Like the games have. I used to listen to the Assassin's Creed 2 soundtrack just for fun.
I believe
like,
that.
It's so beautiful. Like Jesper Kid, a genius. But like I don't know what they did to the soundtrack in this movie. They if the action hadn't have been so cool, the music might have taken me out of it. Gotta be honest.
Dude, yeah. I would also like to say that the setting was just kind of boring. I think maybe it was
the Spanish Inquisition. It's in the middle of the Spanish fucking Inquisition.
No one expects. Okay, but look.
Come on.
How do you make
but
that
in
boring?
the games, at least, like you get to see details and stuff. I'm not complaining so much that.
Well, no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm sorry if that came off like I wasn't agreeing with you. I was, because like it's the Spanish Inquisition. Do more with it. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I'm saying like we don't get to spend enough time there, slow, quiet time to observe anything. The sets probably looked great, but we were running through them so quickly. Like in those past scenes, they had to get so much action done that the camera barely got to sit still, you know? So you don't really get to take in the surroundings when you're just constantly in motion, which a lot of those scenes are. I just wish that the movie had been more like the original games, where 85% of it you're doing Assassin's Creed shit, and the other part you're doing the modern day shit, which you're walking around a bit, pushing some buttons. You might fight a dude.
Yeah, you might do like some bleeding effect shit, and
Yeah.
you might learn some stuff in the modern day. But like,
But most of the time, you're back doing the cool shit.
because I mean, notice how most of the time we're fan casting Ezio. We're not fan casting Desmond.
Nope.
Like, we're
Who
talking
gives a
about how
fuck?
much we love Ezio. We're not talking about how much we love Desmond.
Though my dream casting for Desmond would be Jogo. Shave that boy's head, and he's a Desmond. Yeah.
Well, then he would need to play Ezio because like it's the same mocap actor in the games.
Oh, I could see that. Jogo could do an Ezio.
Yeah.
Jogo could do an
Yeah,
Ezio.
last
the
time he
same
had to do
actor.
an accent on film, he that was just great.
Yeah,
Anyone
well,
else see The Walk? No, just
No.
me.
No.
I saw that movie
Steven?
where he was
Who are
on
you
that
talking to?
bicycle.
Do you
Did
think
you
I've
ever
seen
see
The
that?
Walk?
When he was on the bicycle and he was a delivery guy and the guys were trying to get him.
No.
It was called Premium Rush.
Why does that
And-
sound familiar?
Because
Like
it's a
I've heard
movie.
of that.
Jogo is a bike
Like-
messenger and he gets into some shenanigans and you know, like you do. And the guys try to get him and he has to bike through the do. He's on his bike. He really hurt himself in that movie, like for real, because he did a lot of the biking himself. And he hurted himself pretty badly. But he's okay now. He healed.
Sure.
He
like
got
you do.
better.
Like
Yeah.
you do. All right. Well, that, unless there was any objections, is our
Premium
episode
Rush.
on Assassin's Creed. You can find us on, we're on Bluesky, YouTube, and Letterboxd now at Disenfranched Pod. Shoot us an email, disenfranchedpod@gmail.com. Join the official conversation at patreon.com/disenfranchedpod, where you can either join for free or for $5 a month, access just scads and scads of extra content that may or may not have been updated in a while. We've also, I'm Stephen Foxworth. Oh yeah, rate us and review us on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars, please and thank you. If you liked this episode, not sure why, but you can rate it 5 stars on Spotify as well. We sure do appreciate that. And if you could leave us a review as well, that will go a long way to helping us find other listeners like yourselves. And I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy. You can find me on Bluesky and Letterboxd at Chewy Walrus. Brett, where can we find you on socials these days?
Letterboxd.
Right on. At
Suswar. There's no underscore on Letterboxd. They don't
No.
like underscores.
That's Bluesky.
Is it sus
Yeah.
underscore Warlock on Letterboxd?
There you
Because social media is cancer. Anyway, carry on.
There you go. Tucker?
In Manhattan, a bike messenger picks up an envelope that attracts the interest of a dirty cop who pursues the cyclist throughout the city. Also, Michael Shannon's in it. You guys
Love
love
that
that
guy.
guy. And
I do,
this
yeah.
guy, this David Coep, am I saying that right?
David Kep.
He directed it. He's written some of people's favorites movies. You know what I'm talking about? He writes stuff.
Yeah.
Stir of Echoes, you guys. Maybe a little bit of Jurassic Park. Maybe a Dial of Destiny, that new Indiana Jones. Everybody loved that one.
Sure didn't.
Big
Indiana
hit.
Jones is completely different.
Big hit.
I don't know if we should talk about Indiana Jones. I think that might be the
Oh.
porn parody.
Is that a real? Oh, I was just taking the S off. I wasn't spelling it Joan. I was doing the opposite of pluralizing everything because I'm old.
Nah, honestly, the porn parody of Indiana Jones is probably Indiana Moan, let's be honest.
Or Indiana Bone.
Or Indiana Bone.
There it is. I'm still on Instagram and YouTube at IceNight09. That's ICENINE, the number 0, and the number 9. Also, Tuck Mugs is still around. Tuck_Mugs. Don't know what we're doing with it, but we'll probably figure it out soon. Can we cover Premium Rush? Can we put that on the list? It's kind of what it's kind of an old timey thing. Like they don't make, even then they didn't make movies like that anymore. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I think we can cover it because I'm sure if it made a bunch of money, they would have tried to make a sequel. But it's like any movie, though.
Yeah, I
So
mean, under
format's
that
kind of
logic,
open.
any movie fits our format. We have to
So
be a little bit
Premium Rush them, put it on the list.
more- Sure, whatever.
And if it doesn't fit on the main feed, we'll just add it to the ever expanding straight up list.
There we go.
He's like weaving in and out of cars and shit. It's really exciting. You guys, you gotta see it. It's really good. It's Joko. He's got the little bag and the helmet.
On that note, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Disenfranchised Podcast. Please join us next week for the second week of our Oops All Video Game Month. So yeah, until next week, for my co-hosts Brett Wright and Tucker, I have been Stephen Foxworthy saying, "Fuck them Templars."
Oh, and if any of you are wondering, if any of you are wondering why we didn't do an oops like in a video game corner, that's kind of the point of the whole like month. So like I'm not going to sit there and talk about every video game in a given franchise. I sort of did that this time, and that's kind of the whole episode. But like maybe Tomb Raider, or maybe talk about Tomb Raider a little bit. That's next week. Spoilers. But in case you're curious, that's why there's not a dedicated segment about the video game corner. It's kind of the whole month's thing. So yeah. Anyway. Bye. I love you. Bye.
Very special PSA from Brett at the end.